Oye, mira. My name is Zacateco. I'm a decolonial social scientist and film buff. This is Decolonizing Film, the place where nostalgia gets fact-checked. Trigger warning. Watch this scene with me.
I had a man, and I have a child. And I had to take care of both of them. Okay? Did I want Carl to touch my baby? Because I would lay my baby. I would lay her on the side of me on this pillow. And it was pink, and it had this little white writing on it, and it had her name, because she was precious. And I would lay my baby on that pillow, and Carl would be laying on the other side. And then we would start doing it, and he reached over, and he touched my baby. And I asked him, I said, Carl, what are you doing? And he told me to shut my fat ass up, and it was good for her.
And what did you do then?
I shut my fat ass up. And I don't want you to sit there and judge me, Miss Weiss.
You shut up and you let him abuse your daughter.
I did not want him to abuse my daughter. I did not
But
want him to hurt her. I did not want him to do nothing to her. I wanted him to make love to me. That was my man. That was my fucking man. That was my man. And he wanted my daughter. And that's why I hated her. Because my man, who was supposed to be loving me, who was supposed to be making love to me, was fucking my baby. And she made him leave. She made him go away.
So whose fault was it then?
It's this bitch's fault, because she let my man have her, and she didn't say nothing. She didn't scream. She didn't do nothing. So those things that she told you I did to her, who else was gonna love me? Since you got your degree, and you know every fucking thing, who was gonna love me? Who was gonna make me feel good? Who was gonna touch me and make me feel good late at night? And she made him go away. So when you sit there and you write them fucking notes on your pad about who you think I am and why I did it and all of that, because I didn't have nobody.
Precious turns 16 years, 8 months, and 14 days old today. Precious was directed by Lee Daniels, adapted by Jeffrey Fletcher, and based on the novel Push by Sapphire. The movie was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress for Monique, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Film Editing. Monique won Best Supporting Actress, and Jeffrey Fletcher won Best Adapted Screenplay, becoming the first Black writer to win an Oscar for screenwriting. This movie was powerfully acted. Monique gave one of the most devastating performances in modern film because she didn't play Mary as a cartoon villain. She played her as a human being who had become dangerous because harm, abandonment, patriarchy, and poverty had rotted inside her without accountability or care. Gabourey Sidibe gave Precious something Hollywood rarely gives Black women who don't fit its narrow rules of desirability, and that's interiority. She gave her imagination, humor, anger, silence, longing, intelligence, and the sacred right to be more than what happened to her. Pero mira, this is decolonizing film. We're not just clapping because a film told a painful truth. We're asking what the film exposed, what it refused to sanitize, where it still fell into danger, and how audiences trained by racial empire logic were conditioned to consume Black pain without always indicting the systems that produce it. This is not a Black story written through white savior fantasy. Precious came from Black creative labor, so the decolonial critique has to move differently. Precious is decolonial as fuck in one major way. It refuses respectability. This movie does not give us the kind of Black pain that America prefers to applaud. It doesn't give us the perfectly articulate survivor. It doesn't give us the inspirational poor child who makes everyone feel better about the world by the end. Precious forces the audience to sit with what many systems work hard to hide: incest, poverty, educational neglect, fatphobia, welfare, surveillance, HIV stigma, school abandonment, material violence, sexual abuse, loneliness, and the brutal reality that Black girls can be visible to everyone and still be protected by no one. And this scene right here with Mary and Mrs. Wise is one of the most devastating scenes in modern cinema because Mary says the truth that polite society keeps trying to bury. She admits that she knew Carl was abusing Precious. She admits that she hated her own daughter because the man who was supposed to love her wanted the child instead. She admits that her abandonment, dependency, sexual jealousy, and hunger for male validation gets redirected onto Precious. And let's be clear, Mary harmed Precious. Mary abused Precious. She blamed Precious for violence, the violence that Precious survived. Mary chose the man over the child. There is no excuse for that. But a decolonial reading can't stop at Mary was evil. That's too shallow, and it lets the entire structure walk away untouched. The deeper question is what kind of world produces a Mary? What kind of a world leaves a black woman so emotionally abandoned, economically trapped, sexually devalued, patriarchally conditioned, and institutionally discarded that she experiences her own daughter as competition for male attention? What kind of world teaches women that being desired by a man is the closest thing they will ever get to safety, tenderness, housing, touch, or worth? That is where Precious hits hard. This scene is not just about one abusive mother. It's about patriarchy as captivity. Patriarchy as emotional starvation. Patriarchy as dependency. Patriarchy as a woman being trained to believe that without male desire, she disappears. Patriarchy as a mother turning against her child because the man in the home made the child his target and the world gave that man too much power. And that is why this scene is so painful. It shows how sexual violence doesn't only harm the person directly assaulted, it contaminates the entire home. It rearranges love into resentment. It turns protection into punishment. It turns daughters into threats. It turns mothers into enforcers of the same patriarchal violence that wounded them. And it allows men to destroy families while still being treated as the prize. That is what Precious gets right. It tells the truth that respectability politics doesn't want to hear. But here's where the film misses. Precious shows the wound, but it doesn't always fully indict the machinery that keeps cutting, because some audiences did not watch this movie and call to protect black girls or women. Some watched it as confirmation of what racial empire logic had already trained them to believe. Confirmation that poor black communities are pathological, and that black mothers are dangerous, and that black girls and women are doomed, and that poverty is personal failure instead of policy, abandonment, extraction, housing, violence, food apartheid, medical neglect, school failure, labor exploitation, and state contempt. This is the danger. A film can tell a real truth and still be consumed through a colonial gaze. Racial empire logic, or the system of white supremacy, loves isolated black suffering. It loves when harm is shown without enough attention to the system. Poverty appears without policy. It loves when abuse appears without patriarchy. It loves when illness appears without health care. It loves when educational neglect appears without school abandonment. It loves when hunger appears without food systems. It loves when family harm appears without the state, the economy, housing, policing, labor, and history in the room. 16 years, 8 months, and 4 days later, that is still the real Precious story today.